back in. We are on to week 6, which means it's time for the defense and kicker streaming options for this week. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with the defenses. And we're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cleveland Browns. The Eagles defense has been anything but great so far to start the season. However, a matchup against the Browns can always solve that riddle. The Browns offense has been anemic through 5 games. Deshaun Watson should have been benched by now. And to compound all that, injuries have absolutely ravaged their offensive line. Only left guard Joel Bitonio remains, and he has struggled, allowing a career worst 7.6% pressure rate. Cleveland is allowing a league worst 5.2 sacks per game, which should allow the Eagles to boost their poor sack numbers through their first 4 games, making Eagles one of, if not the best streaming option this week against the Browns. So absolutely love the Eagles. Next up, it is the Houston Texans, who are rostered 41% of leagues against the Patriots. The Houston Texans should have a field day on defense against the Patriots, who rank 30th in the PFF offensive line rankings. They also have allowed 3.8 sacks per game, which only Tennessee and Cleveland have given up more. On the season, the Texans have 15 sacks, which ranks 10th in the league. And they also rank top 10 in pressure rate as well. It's also not an offense that we're really scared to put up a lot of points against this team. So I do like the Houston Texans a lot this week. Next up, let's talk about the Colts, who are rostered in 17% of leagues against the Titans. The Colts have been a middle-of-the-road fantasy defense this season. They rank 15th in sacks and 9th in takeaways. This week, the Colts take on a Titans offense that has allowed the second most sacks, and quarterback Will Levis, who has the most INTs and fumbles in the league. The Colts defense should be viewed as one of the best defenses in week 6 as well. Next up, let's move over to the kickers. First, we're going to start with a couple of guys that we've talked about before. And first up is Chase McLaughlin, rostered in only 17% of leagues. McLaughlin was on this list last week, and he returns for another week. He is the kicker 6 on the season and has scored double-digit fantasy points in 4 or 5 games. Last week, he converted 2 50-yard field goals and another 30-yard field goal for 16 fantasy points. This week, the Bucs will take on a Saints in this game. This game has the 7th highest total of the week, with McLaughlin being one of the best offenses in the league. He makes for not just a great streaming option, but also just a really solid long-term ad. Next up is Austin Seibert, rostered in 16% of the league. Also another player we talked about last week. Both him and McLaughlin were absolute home runs for me last week, so hopefully they can do it again this week. But Austin Seibert continues to be one of the most reliable kickers this season. He ranks 2nd in fantasy points per game and is converted on every field goal in PAT this season. The Commanders take on the Ravens this week. This game is the highest total of the week, and the Commanders have the 10th highest team total right now. So Austin Seibert, just a slam dunk play. Again, another really good long-term option. He's just been phenomenal so far to start this season. So I think both of these kickers, who are widely available in leagues, definitely should be rostered far more leagues right now. Next up is, I know I got some comments after this with Braden Narvison. I get it. A couple weeks ago, he wasn't good. He was really rough. He missed 2 field goals that game. But he did bounce back last week, connecting on a 46-yard field goal and hit all 3 of his PATs. While it was only 7 fantasy points, it was still a positive to see them stick with him, and he did respond well. He is still the kicker 12 on the season, averaging 9.2 fantasy points per game. This week, though, the Packers head home to take on the Cardinals. The Packers have the 3rd highest applied team total this week and the 3rd highest total. So next up is a player that I normally wouldn't hit on because he doesn't really hit some of the stuff that I really look for. But there's always outliers every year. And Will Lutz right now looks like he's that guy, only rostered in 4% of leagues. He is currently the kicker 8 on the year right now, averaging over 10 fantasy points per game. But he's doing it on an offense that's not very good. They rank 2nd to last in 3rd down conversion percentage, only 24%, which is really bad. But he continues to get along field goals. Obviously, getting to kick in Denver at home games is always going to be a positive. Will Lutz has been really good this year, converting 92% of his kicks. But this week doesn't really change a whole lot. They have the lowest team total on the slate with 16.25 fantasy points, and it's also the lowest number on the slate of games. This offense is just good enough to get them into field goal range, where that's where Will Lutz has come through. So I do think Will Lutz is another option. Again, don't really love the offense here. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to get you a lot of PAT, but somebody that can rack up field goals. He has scored double-digit fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games. That being said, let me know in the comment section below if you have any other questions. We'll be sure to get to them and help you out for week 6. If you're having a rough start to the season, there's still time to turn this thing around, so let's do that this week. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.